Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Hey, Brady. What's going on?
Nada. Back from race week.
Look at that. You brought home some trophies. So I don't understand. Which one do we talk about first?
Talk about the drag week one.
Okay, so that's this one, right? Third place, limited street. In 2 minutes, tell me how the week went.
There was highs, there was lows. We were broke down. We got everything fixed. There was a new personal best. We ended up winning. So yeah, it was a long, grueling, energy-filled week that had a lot of fun.
So I guess at first pass that I saw, so I tried to watch most of it on the live feed. I missed some, but the first pass in the pro here, that was like the best pass, right? Like how have we gone 15 to 20 years of owning F-bodies and never had this happen?
Yeah, well, if you own a T-top car, always check the T-tops before you make a pass. Lesson learned. I never unlatch them. Somehow this one was unlatched. You can even see it on my in-car GoPro. And sure enough, it didn't make the trip. 1320 got a nice little video of it smashing against the ground.
Yeah, we need to know. So I have that video. I'll put it here. It may not be the best quality, sorry, but we'll put it here. Kyle's commentary is terrific.
That sucks for everybody involved, unfortunately.
So first day, how'd it go?
Well, we lost the T-top, so then I was scrambling around looking for a T-top somewhere in Oklahoma City. Luckily, somebody up the road had a spare car and let me borrow it for the week, so that kind of saved the day. That kind of set the tone of this style of race, where other racers are willing to help other racers.
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't expecting that. It was a very nice blessing to have. But that definitely started off our week and what to expect.
But you didn't have to necessarily make another pass there. It was a halfway decent pass, right? Even with it flying off 870, 880.
Yeah.
Like it was enough to like, okay, we're in the mix. Yeah, I mean, it's not super competitive, but we're in the mix. You made a complete pass. If worse comes to worse, you could hit the road and drive from there.
We could have. I didn't want to drive the whole drive to Dallas, park the car overnight at a hotel without one T-top. And I already have enough time getting stuff stolen or damaged at the hotel. I didn't really want to mess with that. So it was nice that we were able to find one and keep making passes there in Noble.
Okay, so day one, you find another T-top, you make more passes, and it ends up going an 860 first day?
866.
866. I should look back on our communication, kind of talk, but okay, we'll just go from there. So 866 turned in, done. How's day one drive?
It wasn't bad. So we opted to drive part of the drive to Enos that night. So we were driving down I-35 at 1.70 miles an hour.
That's cool.
With a bunch of traffic, pulling a trailer, and all the temps were great. It was a nice drive. It was really surreal taking the race car out of town.
I bet.
That part I couldn't quite grasp. I was still 3 or 4 days in, still like, this is crazy. I'm however many miles from my truck and trailer, and this is my only means of transportation. Definitely brought me back to the days when it was my daily driver, and that was the only means of transportation I had. So it was pretty cool. I've got a lot more appreciation for the car and a lot more memories because of this trip. So
y'all drove to like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That night you drove through the night.
Yeah.
You got there.
We got to Denton, stayed the night. I think the last checkpoint was the Buc-ee's in Denton.
Okay.
And the next day got up, threw in that video on YouTube, and then we drove to Enos.
Okay. So that's about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Denton to Enos. So so then you get to Enos. No problems per se. We just ready, unload, change everything over, start making passes.
Yeah, we had to swap the car over. That took a little bit of time. We didn't quite have a routine quite figured out yet of who's doing what needs to be done first. The car's still hot, so by the end of the week we definitely had everything ironed out as far as what steps and what to do first. But I would definitely encourage anybody that does it, have the least amount of crossover swap as possible, because it just adds to the trip.
Yep. So in this, as I recall, was a pretty uneventful day. Like, we played with the tune-up, it went a little faster, still not great. We were still not quite happy. Was that
865?
865, so about the same. We hadn't discovered that there was a boost problem yet, had we?
Yeah.
That was Tulsa, right?
Yeah, just what we were commanding was not what the car was
Yeah.
producing.
So we knew, we hadn't identified or talked about it yet, but we knew something was kind of up. But, you know, it goes another 860. We're consistent. So we're like, okay, hey, let's go. And I thought you made 2 passes, and then you were at the point, like, y'all were tired, and you're like, no, we're just going to go ahead and hit the road. I'm not making a third, right?
Yeah, we were trying to get some of the drive done. So I think we only got 3 passes. We didn't get a fourth.
Okay. Oh, okay. Was that it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so then drive to Tulsa.
That was fun.
Is that when the exhaust?
Yeah, so we drove a little ways that night, leaving Enos. We drove through downtown Dallas and saw all the skyscrapers lit up. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
We got a hotel inside Oklahoma. We hit that drive early in the morning, not knowing that we were going to have car problems, and we were broke down on the side of the road with the exhaust. I'd hit a pothole turning around at one of the checkpoints, and it smashed the exhaust, and I guess broke the bracket. And then during the drive the next day, everything rotated down and started dragging the ground. So it wasn't a major problem, but it was still, hey, we got to somehow fix this.
Yeah. So at this point, Joe just knows that I hear, oh, hey, I bottomed out or whatever, hit the exhaust, and the exhaust broke. So here, poor Joe, I'm thinking like, man, I've never had one of my welds break. Like, I guess there's a first for everything.
It didn't break the weld, it broke the bracket.
So come to find out, I just found this out. It's a week past, and I just now find out that it wasn't my weld that broke. It was the bracket that broke. So I'm not going to say that. But anyway, so it wasn't a weld. I feel a lot better. Because I was concerned when you said, those problems, I was concerned like a weld, like one of the big circular welds that like the V-band broke is what I was concerned about. I'm like, oh man, that's going to be a pain. But they have a welder on site and a guy that helps you out, right, in Tulsa?
The guy that made the trophies actually is a mobile welder, and he showed up and he could TIG, MIG, plasma cut, anything.
That's cool.
So obviously I gave him some money for his efforts because I would have been stranded. I ended up breaking a 5-inch V-band flange.
Okay, just taking it on and off.
The nut seized up and snapped the T-bolt. So nobody had one for sale, so I bought a 3-inch, cut the T-bolt out of it, and took it to the welder. I was like, hey, can you weld this back together? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So
I gave you a hard time about this. Like, how do you not have a spare of those? Like,
I think I have one, but it's a lot bigger than what's originally on the car. I guess I got it from a different company.
All right, so we got to get a spare one of those in the trailer for sure.
Yep.
A couple of those. Because, any V-bands, man, those things just like to seize over time. You can put anti-seize on them and be super careful with them. Just taking them on and off and then expose long amounts of heat, they'll end up seizing up. So definitely that. Okay, so Tulsa, we're in Tulsa. You were there for 2 days, right?
Yeah, we had to make a drive and come back to Tulsa. The track in Louisiana closed, so they just had to stay in Tulsa 2 days.
So what day in Tulsa did we find the problem?
The second day. We were going over the data log from the first day, and we're like, man, something's up with the weight with the car. It's not running. It's not doing what we're commanding. So we found a vacuum line that had got too much heat on it and collapsed.
That's right. Yeah, the blow-off valve.
And then the wastegates looked like the wastegates weren't sealed, and it was bleeding off exhaust. So I took those off, cleaned everything, put it back together, and it seemed like everything's fixed. Now the car, when you're commanding 20, it's making 20.
So, and I remember, so I'll back us up a little bit. I remember this actually happened in Dallas once. So remember there was your second pass in Dallas, it messed up mid-pass.
Right.
And then we were like, whoa, what's going on here? And then in Tulsa, we were watching for it, and we know, sure enough, one pass was clean, then one pass was bad. We're like, hold on, something is not right here. Like, and we kept going back to like the onboard air setup and like that, and then that's how we found the blow-off line. Like, we started going through our heads, like, okay, just kind of what all could this be? And then like we just kept coming back to mechanical, like what controls boost? Like, it's got to be something with the wastegates, like whether the line's bad. And that's why we were also looking at the onboard air. We had some hunches that the shifter was like taking all the air, and then the gates weren't getting enough air. Like, we had all these theories, but then it came back to like, I think there was just some trash in a gate that was allowing it to not close. So it was not making enough boost up top versus what we were commanding, which is a problem. And like, we could have adjusted for it, but it was sporadic. So we wanted to be careful. We didn't want to command a bunch more boost and then the problem not happen and now it overboosts.
Well, as soon as we fixed it, the car went faster. So the car never ran an 850 all week, but it ran 2 848s in Tulsa, and we had even slowed it down for the second.
We took out a ton of boost and it still ran too fast. Yeah. So, and then also what surprised me is like, I'm thinking, you know, it's like 5 pounds of boost up top is what it was kind of fluctuating. But sure enough, like it helped the 60 foot tremendously. And like, man, like we're not even necessarily commanding any more boost or changing it, but I think it's just, it was in a more efficient system, and that gate was open during the 60 foot when it shouldn't have been. Right. And it was just robbing a bunch of power, and we didn't know. Like the boost numbers look the same, but the turbo was probably working 10 times harder because the gate's open.
And I took the turbo speed sensor off and switched it to an old temp.
It's so funny that we're like, are we ever going to use this? Nah. And then I'm like, yeah, it'd be funny. We'd probably use that data right now.
It pays to have sensors because when you're going through the data, it's a lot easier to answer questions and fix problems.
When everything's good, you don't need a million sensors. You only need a million sensors when there's problems. Correct. Yes, a lot of these sensors are very useful for tuning and dialing in your setup, but a lot of these other sensors are like only good for diagnostic stuff, but they're invaluable when you need them.
Yep.
So, okay, so then day one, Tulsa, you went another
60?
It's A60, right? It was the best pass you turned in. And then Tulsa day 2, you go 848, 848. And then I sent him a sweet 850 tune-up, and he didn't trust the tuner, and he let off. Which rightfully so. He didn't want to break out. It was his last pass. He wasn't going to get another one. You break out, you don't turn in a slip, and you're done.
Yeah, the only other slip I had was, I spun the first pass. I didn't
even
have a pass to turn in, so I had to turn in something. So that one was an 865.
So he let off and coasted to an 865.
So I think for the average, we had an 864 for the week.
Okay, very cool. So then that finishes up that part.
As long as you made the drive, all the checkpoints back to Noble and break the
beams, right? Okay, so that's secured. So there was 15 cars in this class originally, and after day 1, you were like 9th place.
Oh yeah.
So, but this shows how consistency and just finishing it matters. We ended up having an average of a low 860, like an 862 or something for the week, which, you know, this is an 850 class. The winner was an 850 something.
Right.
But consistency pays off, and we ended up with a 3rd place here. So 9th after day 1 out of 15 cars, middle of the pack, not bad, but middle of the pack. And sure enough, running pretty much the same time all week, an 860, and just making the drive and being consistent, boom, locks in a 3rd place finish.
I think we had 4 cars DNF out of my class.
Which isn't that bad. I mean, that means 11 finished.
But it pays to finish.
Yeah, no, definitely pays to finish. So, 3rd place finish, super awesome. Everyone's excited, but then they added a new component.
Yeah, so we didn't find out till we got there that the last day back in Noble is a race, like a heads-up race. So out of 250 cars that were invited to the race that paid to get entry, we were the 10th fastest car on the property that turned in a slip.
Very cool.
So they took the fastest 8 cars, put those guys in a class. They raced for 7,500. They took cars 9 through 16, put us in a class. We raced for $2,500.
Okay.
And then they took 17 through 64, I think, or 32. They had 16 car shootout, and they raced for I think $1,000.
So we took, so knowing that, we kind of took it like, okay, you're racing the heat of the day. Let's not try to get too aggressive. Let's take that 840 tune-up from Tulsa that we knew was pretty good. Let's kind of soften up the hit and kind of consistency with that part, and then, you know, we'll just kind of smooth everything out, and we kind of made a tune-up. Okay, like we feel this is A to B. This is going to go 840, 850. I thought I said that was going to go like an 850, and it ended up going a little faster.
It went 846 and 164.
Yeah, so it went a little faster, which just shows the wastegate was affecting more than I thought it was. But sure enough, like you left that tune-up, you didn't even have to play with it all day. You just left it in there, right?
The first pass was probably the closest race, and then I got smart. I checked everybody else's averages for the week to see what they ran, to see how much competition. Because yeah, everybody can turn it up the last day. There's not a limit. But if they consistently weren't running 8.5s, 8.6s, I didn't feel we needed to turn it up to an 820 and take a chance at spinning the tire. So we just left the same tune-up, left the suspension loose. It was the heat of the day. It was greasy. The finals were actually into the sun. So the right lane was looking dead into the sun. That was a little tough. But I paid attention not to red light. And the car did its job. The tuner did its job.
And boom!
First place.
First place!
$2,500.
BMF! How cool, man. So
my question to you is, how was the race for you? Because you were sitting at the house on the laptop, looking at data logs, changing tunes, getting feedback from me or Sterling, watching the live feed. Like how grueling was it for you to be like on call the whole week?
Yeah, so very much so. I think the biggest thing to know is I didn't realize how much watching the car in person matters for tuning.
Why so?
I couldn't get a grasp, like those things of, you just can't see what the suspension is doing in the video is good. You know, like you can send me videos and I can watch it on live feed, but it's just not the same as being there. And then the sounds as well. Like I can't hear, like I heard the tire a little bit, you know, trying to, slip at like 30 foot out, 40 foot out. Like you just don't hear that in videos. And then just the overall sense. And then also feeding off of you, like it's totally different hearing, this in a text message versus when I'm there, like I can see your response. We can talk about stuff. We can go back and forth. Like it was just super challenging. And then I think even more so when we start running into problems, it's even harder because like me and you have diagnosed cars for 15, 20 plus years.
It helps having somebody else to bounce ideas.
No, it is. We've just been doing this so long. We're in a groove of what to do when there's issues. Like race cars, there's always issues. So we're in a groove. So like when we're having the wastegate problems, like we're trying to bounce ideas off each other, but through text message, and you're busy working on the car. And like, it's hard. Like I think we could have made more progress earlier and figured something out if I was there, for sure.
Right.
I'm not saying we could have placed better if I was there this week, because first was an 850 and second was like an 851 or an 852. I don't know if we could have gone those times, you know, the whole week.
It would have been tough.
It would have been, and plus I don't think we didn't know of a problem on Monday, or, you know, for day one, we didn't know of a problem. So I don't know if we would have gone much faster in an 860.
I didn't have a whole lot of seat time in the car. After the race, I
feel
think we
good to
made
go.
20 passes.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
comfortable. We knew the car. We knew what to expect once we fixed the problem. So just needs more seat time. I think that's why all those bracket racers run so good, because they're making thousands of passes a year in the same car with the same setup.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to next year. I really want to do 1.0 now. So like, I think me and you need to do 1.0 in the car's current configuration. Good. Brady's wanting to do some upgrades to it, and I'm kind of pushing back. It's like, no, I want to win one as is.
A lot of guys had air-to-air intercoolers, so there's less prep. I had to run to the store and get ice in the car. Like, you can't just pick it up.
But you don't have any bumper air for an air-to-air.
No, I don't. And I don't want to cut it up. I'd consider going methanol, but that's a pretty good conversion project for a winter project. And
in the end, it doesn't necessarily gain you much, because the car is capable of running the times now. Like the only thing it gains you is you don't have to go get ice. So yeah, I wish you had something like Dave's S550. Like we got a big air-to-air on this guy, but it's direct and airflow. I could very much see air-to-air being a winner for these kind of race weeks. Yeah, it's just easier. But I think it's doable with what you got. I'm excited. I want to go win one in the current configuration and then kind of go from there on upgrades. And like, I just want to experience one for myself now actually there as well. Unfortunately, I couldn't go this year, but you guys did great.
So the cars stayed together.
Yeah, that's actually impressive.
There was a lot of guys with motor problems, transmission problems, rear end problems, wheel bearings, brakes. Like guys were having to fix their car, and they were finding support in shops and other racers to help out. But I did not want to be on the side of the road working on this thing. So I tried to be thorough when I did the build. I tried to buy good quality parts, what I could afford. And so I was really blessed that we didn't have any major mechanical issues. Yeah, I tore up the exhaust and had to get that fixed, but nothing broke. And parts fail all the time, especially, I think we put almost 1,025 miles on the car.
That's
in
cool.
6 days. So I was really pleased that it didn't leave us stranded anywhere.
Yeah, no, I think that's a rare thing for like your first complete drag week style event. Because I mean, the first one I don't really count since we had to pull out on day one. But this one, to not have any major mechanical failures on your first complete year, like that's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah.
No, I do. Our 2 minutes is up by 16 plus minutes, and we're at 18 now. So we'll wrap this up and not leave too much. Anything else to add on the end of your first Rocky Mountain Race Week?
I think everybody needs to try and do a race week of some sort. You can have a lot of fun, a lot of memories.
It is the true definition of a street car, right? Like there's nothing more. And I know like there's guys out there in these pro mods that run 7 seconds at these things, but at the end of the day, those guys are driving 1,000 miles in their pro mod, whatever you want to call it. They're racing at every track. They have everything they need with them. And like that's ultimate streetcar. I think most people agree that until you do a drag week or a race week, you can't call it a streetcar. Which, yeah. So I think it's awesome. I think they're cool.
Well, thanks for all the help. Thanks for the support, the tuning, the knowledge. I couldn't have done it without you. So it was a lot of fun.
No, awesome.
Hopefully you can come to the next one.
Yeah, no, I hope so. It's awesome to see hard work and dedication, pay off. Like you have worked hard on that thing the last 3 to 4 months. Constant stuff, and hard work pays off. Like that's proof in the pudding right there. Like there's no denying all that hard work you put in. Just no heat problems, no this problem, no this. Anything that you had concerns about and improved gave you no problems during the week, which is awesome. Like, I think that's great. So I have some photos and some videos and like a little recap we'll put here at the end. And yeah, just great job, Brady. Good job.
Rob Lipinski, the Old Yeller Gasser, Brady Matisick, the Limited Street entry, the 4th Gen Camaro. Gasser versus Limited Street. Trees down and we're gone. The Old Yeller Gasser lights the tires. And he lets off. Matisick drives out of his life and turns on the wind light. Matisick, $2,500 heavier in his pocketbook.